Welcome out to show night, guys. This is Studio 321. This is your host, Eddie B. So white people bad, okay? That's been the main strategy for the Democrat Party and the left over probably the last 10 years in politics. You know, it's been going on longer than that, but I'm going to say it's been ramped up to its maximum intensity probably over the last 10 years. Okay? Now it's become a dying political strategy, okay? It's not working anymore, and I'm going to prove to you how. I got some statistics for you. But first, guys, if you like my videos, please like and subscribe. You know, it's free. It helps spread the word, helps, like-minded people, man. We got to think alike. We got to stick together, help spread the word. So just smash that like and subscribe button. Again, it's free, and whenever you're on YouTube, it will bring my videos right to your feed. Okay, so let's get down to it. White people bad, okay? You know, if you haven't noticed, news and politics and politicians really are all tied together. In other words, you know, one politician will say something and then, 4 or 5 channels will echo that same exact thing or that same exact narrative. And, that'll be on the Democrat side. And then on the Republican side, it'll be the same thing as well. Now, the Democrats, they have a lot more news channels that support them, but still, it's kind of like, these news channels are on the Democrat side, these are on the Republican side, and that's just the way that it goes, okay? So the white people bad strategy has been, it's been used for a long time, and honestly, in the beginning, it really seemed to work. Back, again, this goes back about 10 years, and, I don't know what the mental mindset behind all that was. But anytime you would bring up any type of race in politics or anything, race for any reason, it would immediately shut down the conversation, right? So it always seemed to me when the Republicans got a hand up on something or they were doing good with something or maybe they put a policy in place that was doing well, immediately the Democrats would always counter that with, white people bad or whites are racist or this policy's racist or something like that, okay? And it's always bothered me. I thought it was sickening and really kind of immature and childish. Like, you guys are supposed to govern the country. I understand personal fights and I understand, cultural fights. But when you're doing something good for the country policy-wise, everybody should come together and just agree on it. But they never do. So anyways, I said that I was going to prove it with some stats that it's not working anymore. And here's one of the main things, and I've noticed this a lot. Number one, I'm on the internet all the time, doing podcasts. I talk to other podcasters all the time. It is actually shocking to me how many black conservative podcasters you're starting to see out there. There's a lot. I mean, I run across them every day. Now, I'm going to say between 5 and 10 years ago, you never saw hardly any of that, right? A lot of them are on there. It's kind of a mixed bag. Some of them are like straight Trump supporters. Some of them are MAGA. They're hardcore, They're always going out to the events, live streaming the events. And, I watched this and it's really been shocking to me. And they say that the conservatives have that podcast army, they call it, because there's a lot of us out there that are on the conservative side and doing conservative podcasts and spreading the word. But the percentage of black conservative podcasters now is really growing fast. I've seen a bunch of new ones lately even. So I wanted to bring that up. But also, I was reading the other day some election facts and from 2024, and I didn't know this. This kind of shocked me. Since the election, so what are we in about 8 months now, right? Over 1 million people have left the Democratic Party and joined the Republican Party. Now, normally I wouldn't say that's such a big deal because there's so many voters overall. You get usually about 150 million voters, right? So, but think about this. For you to leave your party and switch to the other party, that means you're angry. You're not just, whatever. I don't have a good candidate right now, so I'm not going to vote. No, you're not that person. You're the person that's mad at the party that you've been involved in. So mad that you're willing to go out and switch your party affiliation. That comes from, like I said, you're angry, maybe embarrassed. Like, I see a lot of that online right now as well. There's a lot of embarrassment out there, even from Democrats, man, about the way their own party does stuff. They get on there now and they try to make jokes about it and like, oh, well, saying stuff like, oh, we can't get out of our own way or this and that or this and that. And they're joking about it, but you can tell it's not really a joke. That's like they're joking about it because that's the only way they can kind of get through it. You know what I'm saying? And it's a lot of embarrassment. That's really what it is. And so, when you think about that, right, you've got 1 million people switching parties. You've got a lot of black conservative podcasters now on the internet. I see them on Facebook as well a lot. And what does that tell you? Okay. It tells you that you're starting to see, in the black community as well, you're starting to see a split. Okay. And that's a healthy split because every community has pushback against itself, and it should. Like, all whites don't stick together, right? They don't. Like, we battle over stuff and have different points of view, and in the end, you kind of come to a consensus of whatever you come to. Well, you're starting to see that a lot more in the black community in politics. It's not now just a monolithic voting block anymore. They're not. All blacks are just not voting one way. It's not happening. And the black podcasters are really starting to get in, make inroads with the community that they represent, which is great. You know what I mean? Because when you're trying to spread the word, it works better when someone from your own community is spreading the word to you. You know what I mean? It's just that's Mother Nature. So, and that's been really good to see because over the years, I've watched all the race baiting. You've got, and look, you still got some left, but it's not as effective as it used to be. You got Jasmine Crockett out there. She's a loudmouth, of course, and she's always talking about white people this, white people that. But the truth is, she's just out of real arguments.
I talk to black folk all the time as somebody that's a child of a preacher. Listen, most black people are not Republicans simply because we just is like, y'all racist. I can't hang out with the KKK in them. That's really what it is. But when we think about who we are as black people and we think about where we come from, most black people have very conservative values, right? But the reality is that, like, we just can't side with, like, the neo-Nazis in them.
She doesn't know how to govern anything. And, she's actually getting swallowed up out there in Texas right now. She might get redistricted and not even have a job. So, she's running her mouth. And the only way nowadays to really get that recognition is start a bunch of drama. And the way they do that is obviously the race card, right? So she's out there running her mouth all the time. You got Joy Reid, who was MSNBC. Again, she was, she's on a news show, but she got fired. They canned her. She was one of the worst race baiters I've ever seen in my life. Like, I can't believe they put up with her for that long. It goes on and on. But what I'm starting to see now is a lot less people paying attention to that, honestly. And again, going back to the black podcasters, I was watching a black podcaster the other day make fun of Jasmine Crockett. You know what I mean? And I thought to myself, like, man, like, you never see that. That in the past, that community was all like monolith, one voting block, don't go against each other. And if you did, your own community would basically attack you, right? It's not like that anymore. And that shows real growth, honestly. It does, because you need pushback within your own community in politics. Because once you do that, what happens is the political parties, they start to realize that they don't just have you. They don't just own you. They have to earn you. And see, that's the big thing. And I've always told people this as well. Especially in the black community, where 90 something percent were registered Democrats, right? Well, the Democrat Party looks at that and goes, you know what, man? We don't have to do nothing to earn their vote because we've already got it, right? And so the community gets nothing from them. And that's what's gone on over the last 10 years. So I feel like these conservative black podcasters are really starting to get that word out, and people starting to understand that. And now there's a split in that community, which is helping to create the right balance of tug of war. Because let's be honest, you need two political healthy parties. You have to have it. I'm a conservative. It's been a long time since I voted for a Democrat, and it'll probably be a long time until I do again. But you have to have a healthy Democrat Party and Republican Party. That way they can tug a war, and then everything kind of ends up in the middle, right? Because if you have one party with too much power, they just pull everything their direction, and then things go off the rails. And honestly, that's kind of what just happened in the past with the Democrats. And look what they ended up doing. Faking the Joe Biden stuff, the fake Russia stuff, like all these lies and constant deceit, and now they're getting caught for it all. But the reason they did that is because in their mind, they were untouchable. And that's what happens when a party gets too much power. They get punch drunk on money and power, and they just think they're untouchable. And that's why you need that balance. And we didn't have the balance from the black community in the past, but we're really starting to head to that direction now and make some inroads. And like I said, the black podcasters, man, a lot of them are doing well. I watch them regularly, and I'm pretty stoked about that. So, look, guys, the racism in politics, it's getting fatigued. I don't think anybody's really buying it much anymore. And that's a good thing, because really once you can get past all that junk, you just get down to policy, right? The policies have to be powerful. They have to be strong. They have to help the American people. But when you're just crying about race and race baiting and starting fights, that does nothing. It does nothing for the country or any of the communities. So I'm watching this change. I think over the next couple of years, I think we're going to see the rest of this kind of go by the wayside. Because, again, I'm online all the time. And when I see stuff like, I see, like, say Jasmine Crockett again. She'll get on there and say some really just ridiculous, ignorant stuff, some racial stuff. And it'll get some attention for about 5-10 minutes, but then it just goes off. But nobody's really taking it serious anymore. And that shows me that the fatigue of all that racial crap is gone. And that hopefully now we can just get down to regular politics and policies. And I believe this time around in 24, we got about, I think it was between 11 and 15% of the black vote. I'm hoping for next time to get around 20%. If we can do that, it'll show the progression of where we're headed. And again, you got to thank those podcasters for that, man, because they're out there and they're doing the work. All right, guys, if you like my video, please like and subscribe. This is Eddie from Studio 321. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.